Hi, this is Dina with Pretty Productive. We're a mother-daughter Etsy shop that sells budgeting tools, budgeting kits, and anything planner or budget related. So today what we're going to be doing is stuffing our November cash envelopes the beginning of the month, as well as setting up our November budget. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be using the Erin Condren 7x9 Deluxe Monthly Planner. This is kind of my go-to. I do also have the larger one as well. I'm going to be using a new kit that we're going to be posting in our shop that looks like this. So it has the check boxes, the date covers and the larger boxes, and the washi strips, the thin washi, the headers for the budget headers, the budget strips, and then the large washi. So when you look at how I set mine up, I use the large washi there, and then you can see kind of how I set it up. The reason why we do our kits the way we do them is we had found when I was purchasing kits online, I was having to buy multiples of the washi and the strips, and it added up pretty quickly. So the whole idea really is to be debt-free, so I wanted to make sure that they were cost-effective, but also there's such a motivation in setting up a pretty budget versus just taking out a yellow legal pad, which works as well. So I found I was a lot more motivated if it was cute, and it kind of was laid out, so I wasn't doing a lot of the setup in the beginning. So this is the kit that we will have in our shop in the next day or two. And then these are added, we haven't had these in the past, but I'll show you on my monthly view how I'm using these. So let's go ahead and get started. So when you look at the monthly view, this is one of those rare instances where both my husband and I are going to get paid on the 1st, and then he gets paid again on the 15th, and then we both get paid again on the 29th. Now, there's a lot of budgeters that will say, well, that's an extra paycheck. It's really not extra because it's really what you need for the following month. So I kind of just let it roll right into the next month, and then it kind of just gives you a cushion as the year goes on. So there's 2 months out of the year that you'll have an extra paycheck, but it's really, of course, not extra. So first thing I do is I mark my paydays, and then that way I know what I'm going to need to do from each check, and that's how I set up my budget. So payday number 1, payday number 2, and payday number 3. So my cash stuffing, since I do it early, is today, which is Sunday the 27th. And then the next time I will do cash stuffing will be on the 15th. And then I'll probably do it, it's a little weird because Black Friday's here. So that's kind of a weird weekend, but I'll probably do it on the 26th for the next month, just so that I'm not having to try to go to the bank when it's crazy busy on Friday the 29th after Thanksgiving. Okay, so that's how we're laying out this. And then over here in my notes section, what I'm going to do this time, which I haven't done in the past, is kind of write down what's going to be different. So I know that I'm going to start Christmas shopping on Black Friday. And you'll see in my sinking fund how I'm budgeting for that. And then what else is going to be different is Thanksgiving. So I'm going to take part of my grocery money and put that aside for Thanksgiving. We have a big family, so we kind of all work together. So we're doing kind of more of a potluck type thing. So, and I don't know why I always get chip and dip and pigs in the blanket. So I don't have the expense of the turkey and all that stuff. So, but I know Thanksgiving's probably going to be about $50. Christmas shopping, because I do work from home. I work for a cosmetic company, but I do work in store on Black Friday, and the retailer that I'm working with that day gives all of us a vendor discount, so we get like an employee discount for between Thanksgiving and Christmas, which is super generous of them. And then there's also specials that day. So I have everyone in my family give me a list beforehand, and that's where I get a lot of my shopping done. It's a great day for value. So while I'm in the stores anyways, I go ahead and get that done. So I know I want to make sure that that money in my sinking fund is there and ready to go for that day. And I think that is it that's abnormal right now. This will be kind of a running total of anything that comes up that I hadn't budgeted for. So last month I had 2 things that came up that were unbudgeted. One, I ended up in the emergency room with stitches. That copay was not budgeted for. And then second was we had to get something for the pool, and that was almost $200, and that was not something that we were expecting. So that was an unbudgeted expense. So my unbudgeted are going to go here, and then I will label out all the rest of my expenses as they come up. Okay, so let's get started. So we're gonna actually start with what I call my work in progress. And I started to write it in, but we'll take a step back and we'll go to here first. So one of the things I found when I started really budgeting was, as much as I love the EveryDollar app, and I do use that, the Dave Ramsey EveryDollar app, which is an amazing app, I need to see it on paper and I need to plot it out. And you're gonna think I'm super nerdy, but I already have December plotted out, but it helps my mind to know like where everything's going when things are gonna come up. So for November, we have really 3 paychecks or 3 paydays in the month of November because the way it falls. And I'm not counting the 4th check, just my check plus my husband's 2 checks. So I take our 3 checks and I divide them. And so it comes up to roughly like $3,100 every time we get paid. I have 2 daughters that are on our insurance and our phone bill, so they pay me back for that. And I put that money back into my budget. And then my company pays for my part of my cell phone and my office phone. So every month I have $154 deposited when I do my expenses to offset those bills. On my fixed expenses, and I will say my husband and I are both on salary. So it's not like we don't know what we're gonna get paid. We know pretty much to the dollar what we're gonna get paid every week. My husband is in the process of retiring. So we are currently budgeting on what we think he's gonna have in retirement. So anything above and beyond that check of what we think we're gonna have, we put into a savings account. So it's just to teach us to live all of a sudden on a fixed income. He worked in law enforcement for 24.5 years. He always had a lot of overtime. He's worked a second job. So we got very used to budgeting on that. So when we knew that he was going to be retiring, we started budgeting on bare minimum of what we thought he was going to bring home. That's helped us to build up a really nice cushion to help offset medical payments, things like that, that were part of kind of his package that won't be there in retirement. So just kind of as a precaution, I felt better to know that we were going to be able to live in the same lifestyle that we have. I'm continuing to work as we have when he was working full time. So that is why you kind of see it's a weird kind of number. But anyways, so our total income for the month will be $9,834. Our mortgage is $3,200 a month. Now what we're doing with our mortgage, we refinance to a 15-year, and then we're paying extra on our principal every month. So some people say, well, make one extra payment at the end of the year. It helps you on your taxes, and it also helps to pay down a 15-year. I think you can pay it down in 7 or 8 years. I don't know about you, but I don't think I can come up with an extra mortgage payment of 1 month out of the year. So I just took that, you know, the principal, divided it by 12, and so I add that on to our principal every month, so that yes, it makes our mortgage payment higher, but a couple $100 a month I haven't really missed, and it does the same thing in that it's paying off our principal faster, which is helping us to pay the house off faster so that I can retire. Cell phone, and that is a package for the 4 of us, is $371. Telephone, which is my office phone, is $44. Internet, $110. Netflix, $15. Water, trash, electric, and gas, which is natural gas, is all estimates. So what I do is I look at my bills from the year prior. We've been in our house for 8 years. I pretty much can anticipate what that bill is going to be. We are just coming out of our really high months. I live in Arizona, so our electric bill has been over $500 for the last 3 months. Last month it was $238. It was just so nice. And so this month I'm estimating $300. Should be right around there. Life insurance for my husband and I, $106. Auto insurance for 3 vehicles, and again, my daughters pay back their part. I have a company vehicle. They pay for my gas, my maintenance, and my insurance. So, and we do not have any car payments. All our cars are paid off. And then I have 3 subscriptions: Elements Massage for $70, Audible, which is $16, and then Ali Edwards, which is it's a story kit subscription, is $15, and that comes up to $4,696. So lifestyle is something that I feel like we could always cut back if we needed to. So if we're having an unexpected bill come up, we always have some wiggle room over here. This is kind of non-negotiable. Got to keep the lights on. This is where you have some flexibility. And this is also where I use my cash envelope. So there are a lot of budgeters out there that take money out for bills and then put it back into their account. I just find it easier just to leave it in my account and go from there. I do have certain bills that go direct paid to a Capital One account, and then it's just cleared at the end of the month. And I just do that just so that I don't have to schedule those bills. I don't have to ever worry about it. The only 2 bills that I actually go in and pay are my electric and my water, just because I'm never really sure what they're going to be. And then most of my other bills are all direct billed. So for lifestyle, giving is $400, and I use a cash envelope. Groceries, I budget $500. I take half out in cash and half I leave in my account, and that's cash envelope. Eating out, $200, cash envelope. Clothing, I put $130. That's what I call a virtual envelope. I do a subscription service called Stitch Fix. So sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. I'll go a whole month without buying anything, and then maybe the next month I get 2 really good boxes, and I'll want things that are in those boxes. So I just leave that money in the account and kind of just separate it in my mind. So it's there if I need it, but I'm not having to put the money back into my account if I decide I want something from Stitch Fix. Allowance, $200. I give myself $50 a week. My husband takes his allowance out of the money that I give him back from his check that we're putting into savings. So he spends no money. He is not a spender, thank God, because I am. Household, $220. Entertainment, $100. Personal care, $60. Medical copay, $30. My doctor's office doesn't take cash anymore, so we leave that in the account and just use our debit cards. Recreation, $40, and side hustle, $236. Now, side hustle is our Etsy shop. I went way over in the month of October. I bought all my planners for 2020 and then some, so I really am not going to spend this money this month. That is what I'm telling myself right now. I really need to, I don't need anything, so let's just put it that way. I have 4 sinking funds that I use. I have a dentist. In 2018, I used a lot of money for dental work. I had a root canal, I had a crown, I needed an implant. It just was crazy. So my goal is to have all the money for my implant in this account so that I don't need to, use any other money. So the balance in that account is $15.75, and I just leave it there, and I contribute as I want, but I don't put in every month. Vacation, I put in my expense check because it goes into that account. That's kind of how I set it up. So $154. So there will be $154 when that money goes in that account. Gifts and Christmas, I'm putting $750 in that account. Now what I do at the end of the month is when I put my sinking funds in. So whatever I do not spend out of the $750, since I said earlier I was going to be shopping on Black Friday, so whatever I do not spend out of this money will then be transferred into my sinking fund at the end of the month. So I don't fill that in until the end of the month. Bills, I take $118 every month and put it into a sinking fund for bills, and that's my homeowners association, pest control, as well as Amazon Prime. So I just take those bills, divide it by 12 months, and then that's what I would do average a month. So for example, my homeowners, I think it was $73 a month. We pay it quarterly. So $118 goes into that fund every month. Now this month we're going to need to pay pest control, and that's $90. So I will take and put $28 in the account. So I'll take the $90, just leave it at my account to pay that, and then the balance will go into the sinking fund. Debt, we were debt free, and then I added 3 things to this category, which are all currently on interest free cards and will be paid off before we pay any interest. So we have a Barclay card. The balance is $2,700. I'm paying $1,500 this month because I want it paid off by January 1st, and that will leave a balance of $1,243. I have a Barclay Apple. When we started the business, we needed to buy a laptop as well as an iPad. So it's interest free through until 2021. So the balance is currently $2,000. It will be $1,900. I'm going to pay $100 this month. That's so I can pay extra towards the first one. And then Chase is what I run all my business expenses through. And as I said earlier, I literally spend a lot of money in October, so I'm really going to curtail that. So anything from my side hustle fund that I have will go on Chase. So the $400 I pay plus anything out of the $236 that I spend will all go back onto that card. So I try to keep it completely separate. So my total debt snowball payment will be $2,000. I currently have a balance of $7,000, and at the end I'll have a balance of $5,000. And that's barring anything that I've added or had to do. But that's what my plan is right now. So total income minus all of our expenses is the same amount. So every dollar has a home, every dollar is going somewhere. What I do when I go to the bank is I write it out like this. And I know that there are much nicer ways to do this, but this is how I do it. So groceries, I start with $250 in there, and then I just say 2 $100 bills, $150, all the way down. It totals to $910. I just take this to the bank with me, give it to the teller, or just walk her through it. They're always curious as to what I'm doing with this cash. But this has worked well for me. And then that way, as I'm stuffing the envelopes, if I forget what I had planned, how I was breaking the money up, I always have a copy of it as well. So if you've seen my videos before, you've seen this before. It is something I bought from Amazon, which I guess she no longer sells on Amazon, though she does sell on Etsy. It's called A Time for Everything, and they're plastic dividers for cash, and you can label them. I just use my labeler. I did trim them down a little bit so they fit into my wallet. So if you wanted to just take your eating out money, you could just take your tab for that. But I use a Maldron Filofax for my envelopes, and this kind of works as my wallet too. So this is what I take. But what I do is I don't take all the money and put it in my envelope on the first time I stuff envelopes. So I stuff every other week. So if I put all of my money for eating out, say, in my envelope on the 1st, then by the 15th when I'm stuffing again, all of it will be gone because, as I said earlier, I'm a spender. So part of the money I leave in here so that on the week that I'm not stuffing envelopes, I go here and I take out for the next week. So it's just a way to kind of budget but not take this with me. This stays at home so that I'm not tempted to spend more than I have with me. Okay, I'm gonna put this to the side. And I do want to say, as I'm arranging cash here, budgeting is very personal. This works for me. I know that Dave Ramsey probably would cringe when I say I direct bill things to Capital One or whatever it might be. I've budgeted many different ways in my life. This has been the most successful I've been with budgeting, so this is the way I budget. Somebody else might do it totally different. It's always really important that a budget is very personal and that you budget what's best for you, your family, your situation in life, what your financial goals are. Some people are super gazelle intense and they work really hard and they have a timeline that they want to be out of debt. I've had that in my life, and we've paid off a ton of money to be debt free, and then I, had debt again, and I'm now managing to go back there again. We've done this reverse ways. We've already paid for our kids' college. We've already cash flowed weddings. We have already fully funded our retirement. We're working on paying down the house. So yeah, we are not in the correct baby step order. And I know that Dave Ramsey would not approve, but again, you need to do what's best for you and your family and what works well. And this is what works well for us right now. I learned so many tips and techniques from different budgeters out there. I watch a lot of videos. And so I learn a little bit from everybody. So I hope that you learn something from our videos as well, and that you take that and make that work for you and your family and your situation. Years of working in retail, it really bothers me when things are not in the right order. I don't know if you all feel that same way. Okay, so these are my cash envelopes. We do sell these in our shop. They are laminated, they are hole punched. We do hole punched or non-hole punch for the 6 ring. So this fits both the Filofax Maldron that I use as well as the Safriano, which is super popular. We do 6 different fonts for labels, and we do foils or non-foil, whatever you prefer. One thing that I have found with the cash envelopes is that it really does not allow you to spend more than you have in there, which is a great budgeting tool. The second thing that I like about it is that it is a constant reminder of staying on track. I take my debit card, I don't carry it with me. In fact, usually I'm at the bank and I'm like, I don't have my debit card, so I go in. Because I will spend it. So if I'm spending the money in my envelopes and using my debit card, you can tell that it's just gonna be a budget fail. So I like it this way. And then I also find that I only take the envelope with me. That is what I'm doing. So since I work at home, I don't need to worry about, hey, I'm going to stop by the grocery store on my way home. I better have that money with me. If I'm going to the grocery store, I know I'm going to the grocery store because I'm home and I'm leaving my house to go do that. The second thing, when I travel, I leave these home so that my husband has access to them. But also, again, I have an expense account that I work on, and I use my allowance money for spending cash if I'm traveling. So I really try not to take it all with me. That would tempt me to borrow from one envelope to another. So I really try to keep them separately. So the first one that we're going to budget for is groceries. Now my total budget for groceries is $500 for the month. I'm already earmarking $50 for Thanksgiving. Excuse me. I also leave money in the account because I like to do HelloFresh. Sometimes I do Instacart. So I don't want to have to go put the money back into the account. So I start the month with $250 in cash and then $250 left in the account. If it's towards the end of the month, like I just did this, I had already done HelloFresh as much as I was going to do for this month. I went and took the rest of the cash out, and then I've used that at like Costco, Sam's Club, things like that. So we're going to start with $250. So I'm going to put 11/1 as my fund date because that's when it's effective. Let's just say it that way. And I'm going to put $250. But as I said earlier, I'm not going to put $250 in my envelope. I'm going to take 100 of this, and I'm going to take my dividers for groceries. I'm going to put it under that tab, and then this stays home. Then in a week and a half or so, when I've spent the $150 that I put in my envelope, I come back, I grab this 100, and it's like I'm refunding the envelope. This sounds weird though. Anyways, I put more money in the envelope, and that way I'm not taking more money out of my account. I'm just taking more money that I started with. Again, it stops me from being at Target and just adding things to my cart because this goes for food. So this goes in here. Okay, so I had already written this in. I started to write it in. So I'll write groceries, 500 is my budget. And then at the end of the week, I'll write what I spent and what I have remaining, and then it follows through for each of my weekly check-ins. So for eating out, our budget is $200. This is my category that I go over in every single time. So last month I did really well. So I'm hoping for the same this month. So 11/1 fund, 100. So I'm going to take 60, put it in here, and I'm going to put 40 over here. I have literally spent the entire $100 in like one weekend. Beginning of the month. I don't know what it is. Why I feel like because I've stuffed my envelope that gives me permission to spend. I'm not really sure why that is. But as I said, I went to the grocery store last month at the beginning of the month. I did meal prep, and it's amazing how much less money I spent going out, but that I actually did pretty good on grocery money as well. I know there's a lot of budgeters that just use that as one budget. I just find that I do better if I limit myself on going out, because I would prefer to go out every night than cook. Okay, next is giving. My budget is $400. I start with $200, and same thing, I put $100 under my tab. I put $100 in my envelope. And I've done giving many different ways. I've written checks, I've donated online. I like just that it's done. Like, I balance my checkbook every week. I do keep a check register, so I was constantly wondering, like, did that check clear, and highlighting it, and I felt like it was more steps. This I just find it's done. I put my information on the envelope so that my year-end giving statement is right, and I feel like it's just effective. And then on the 15th, I'll fund the balance. Okay, next is allowance. So I give myself $50 a week. Again, I'm gonna stuff for 2 weeks. And I break this up a little bit just again, so that I can put the other 50 in next week, instead of put $100 in here, and that has to last me for 2 weeks. This should just be my Joann's Michael's Tuesday morning fund, because that's really where I feel like my allowance always goes. So 50 goes under my tab. So on Friday the 8th, I'll take this 50 and put it in my wallet. And I kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I don't track it. I find that it's good to track just to kind of really see where I am spending my money sometimes. If I just put it in my wallet, I don't necessarily know where it goes. I actually had money left over this week, so that was kind of exciting. Okay, next is household. Now, household stays home, so that my husband and I both have access to it. Okay, I did 110. So I have a household tab, and that way it's not with me. And this is really more for things like, I have a girl who comes in and helps at the house. We have yard work. So anything that has household that we're paying cash for stays here. And so I don't keep it as a cash envelope. So it's here when my husband's here, or if I'm here, it's here. Okay. So 220 is my budget, and we're gonna start with 110. And then next is entertainment. I budgeted 100. I'm starting with 50. And kind of recreation entertainment's the same fund for me. I know that they all have different names, but that's, movie, going out, comedy club, things like that. It's kind of funny because in here I have my Joann's coupon, so that's also recreation and allowance. Okay, so personal care is like tip for my massages, manicure, pedicures, things like that. I just got a pedicure, so I'm not planning to get one again too soon, but I do need to get my hair done and dyed. So I am putting 50 in there, and I did separate a little bit just because it's easier with tips. Oh no, I'm putting 60 in. That's right, I'm putting the full amount in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 30 and 30. So I don't put the whole amount in. The 70 for my massage subscription that I actually put as personal care stays in the account, and that gets direct billed to Capital One. I have a massage scheduled, I think it's the 17th of the month of November, so this will probably be for that, because I'll probably have spent that other money already. So any of my cash envelopes, I also have the tab labeled so that I know when I'm pulling money out of here what fund that comes from. That just has worked easier for me. Okay, so this last money, this $40, is what I put under recreation. So I don't have two separate envelopes for entertainment and recreation, but on my budget and in my EveryDollar app, I do have. So I'm just gonna add this money into that envelope. And so my budget for the month is 40. Actually, what I think I'm gonna do, yeah, I'll just add it into that one. I could go grab another envelope, but that would take time for me to decide what kind of label I want. This is why I use erasable pens. I have 90 in there. I also keep part of the money for entertainment in my account. So I like to pre-buy our movies. Like if we're gonna go to the movies, I like to pre-buy them online so that we can select our seats and everything and not have to worry about it. So some of that money stays in the account so that I can do that without having to put the money back in. I try to avoid putting money back in as much as possible. I feel like that's just a waste of time and energy if I have to keep taking it out and putting it in, but that's just my personal feelings. I know that works really well for some people. So once these are stuffed, they go back in here. Where's my, oh, there it is. And then these go back into here. And again, this stays home. And then I pull from here when I have used the money in here, but still stays within my budget. And I do have a cash stuffing tab. So once I take the money from I take this to the bank with me, I put the money under this tab. Then when I'm ready to stuff the envelopes and I've separated it all out, then this just goes in here until the next time. I just find if I get an envelope, I always feel weird about leaving there with a cash envelope, but I don't feel weird leaving with this. Who knows? Okay, so that is my cash envelopes, and I just kind of want to go back really quick to this front page. And I know a lot of people that use this plan are really not sure what to do with this page. I've not used it in the past. I did decide this month, though, I did want to make some financial goals. So my first financial goal for this month is to have 10 no spend days. Which sounds like, okay, there's 30 days, so a third of the days you wouldn't spend money. It's amazing how many times I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna spend any money today, and then I go to Starbucks and grab an iced tea and I'm like, oh, I just spent money. So my goal is to have 10 no spend days for this month. My second is to have money left over. So instead of feeling like I can spend every dime in my envelopes, I'm going to try to have money left over that I can roll into next month. December is always a super expensive month, not just for Christmas, but all the things that come with the holiday season. Plays that we like to go to, my sisters and I like to craft, of course the food, for Christmas Eve and then Christmas Day, and then I'm off some days in the month, so then I always tend to spend more money. We like to go to movies between Christmas and New Year's. So I really want to have money left over from November that I can roll into that. My next goal is to stay 100% on budget, which means really not having unbudgeted. Now I understand there's things that you don't count for, like my finger, needing stitches and having a copay in emergency room. Did not plan on that. But I do find that sometimes I forget things in my budget, so all of a sudden I'm moving money around or I'm using my sinking funds. And those are things that I really, if I had thought about it, could have predicted. So when I'm saying to stay 100% on budget, I mean not to spend money thinking, well, I'll just pull from here or pull from there, and if it's truly an unbudgeted expense, something we did not see coming, then that's why I have sinking funds and an emergency fund set up. And my last tip, or my last goal, I should say, is to be, I'm gonna put it this way, to shop wisely. So instead of just doing the convenient thing, whether it be to run to Fry's instead of Walmart, or to do Instacart because that's easier, or Grubhub, to really think it through, like, is this the most cost-effective way to buy my groceries? Or is this the most, did I get the best deal in, choosing to go to this restaurant versus this restaurant? Like, just being a little bit more intentional with my choices so that I will have that money left over at the end of the month. So I think if you put $500 in your grocery fund and you're going to spend $500, that's great. But if you could have spent $400 and, because you were just wise about it, then I think that's a lesson that I need to do. I feel like we waste food. I feel like, sometimes I order HelloFresh, but then I don't get around to it, so it ends up in the freezer. So, really plan out my meals, really plan out my food choices, and really, make the best choices at the grocery store, the most cost-effective choices. So to be intentional with my spending. And then in this part, I'm really just going to kind of write down like my notes on the month. So if I find that I did really well here, what did I do that helped me to stay on that goal? And what can I do better next month? If I had 8 no spend days and not the 10, what could I have done differently to make the 10? So this is really just going to be kind of a recap for me on the notes. And then for this page, I set this up this time to really look at what I'm spending for my shop. So the income from the shop versus my expenses. I do keep a spreadsheet. My tax guy loves me because I'm super detailed on our taxes. But I think sometimes because I'm putting it in the spreadsheet and I'm not looking at it, that I'm spending more than I really need to. So this month is going to be kind of front and forward. And I'm going to see it a little bit more, and I want to be more intentional. And then for, I'll write all of these in at the beginning of the month, but everything that was on this sheet, that was my work in progress, gets written into here as soon as the month starts. And then cash envelopes, you saw how we wrote in the weekly. Then at the end of each week, whether I film it or not, I do a weekly check-in. So I look at what's remaining in each category. I roll that down to the budget for the next week, and then it just keeps going through. So by week 2, I can kind of see how I'm tracking, either to stay on budget or to have that extra money. And then transaction log. This is where I keep the things that go directly to Capital One. Like I used to keep it in here, but I found that I was constantly looking in here where it really should be here. So certain bills are direct billed to Capital One. My AT&T phone bill, my office phone, my internet, my subscriptions are all billed directly to Capital One. HelloFresh goes to Capital One, Stitch Fix goes to Capital One. So I write those down so that that money gets paid back. It comes out of my budget, but it gets paid to Capital One. So instead of keeping a scrap of paper in here, which I've been doing, or looking on the app, I'm gonna start writing it down here just so that in my mind I have a running total, and then out of the last paycheck of the month, that gets cleared off. So I always know to a penny what's on that card, so that I'm not wondering like what happened to my money at the end of the month. So that is it for cash stuffing for November, and budget set up. Please let us know in the questions below, in the comments below, if you have any questions. If you like the video, please subscribe and please hit the alert so that you know when we are posting. We are trying to be a little bit quicker on posting videos. This has been a great learning process for my daughter and I. We also are going to be starting to do some different videos, not only budgeting, which is near and dear to our hearts, actually, is how this process started, but also creation videos. So things like how we create the budget kits. My daughter does a lot with Procreate and has done a whole category of downloadable envelopes, budgeting tools, you know, digital planning. I mean, she is very much more the digital. I like paper. She is much more digital. So if that is really what you prefer, is to do everything digitally, those are going to be coming to the shop super soon. We're hoping by mid-November everything is loaded in the shop. We're just working on a few logistics. We will continue to obviously grow the sticker business as well as the envelopes, things like that. Those are really our passion project where we started this whole process. But if there's content or questions that you have on the videos, please let us know. We appreciate your time and watching the videos. We've had some really positive, really sweet comments, and we want to thank you all for coming on this journey with us. We really appreciate it. Have a great week.